Welcome back for another video tutorial. In the last video tutorial, we have experienced the message saying that whenever we click on the text field, it's going to pop up the keypad and it's going to show that the keypad and our layout doesn't fit together nicely. It says that the button overflow by this much of the pixel. Now, if you want to prevent this to be happen, then you're gonna need to add, another name parameter in scrapful. The scrapful support this function, so by reference to resize, avoid bottom inset. So set it to default, and then restart the program, and it should fix our error. As you can see now that whenever I click on the text field, it doesn't make a warning that we have layout problems. So that is an easy fix. Now the next step is we are going to look over the things that we have left off last time. So we're talking about things like icon and several kinds of button. So let's scan to this real quick and look at the icon. To have the icon, it's really simple. So now what I'm going to do is, because I have so many structure expanded here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to scrapful and then right click on it and go to folding and say grab recursively, and that's going to minimize all of this together. And then when I trying to open it up here, you can see that I can go to the body columns and then add things more easier. So over here I can add icon, and to add icon it means we create the new widgets. It's a new icon, and just like the dash say, you don't need the news. You just need the name of the class. And over here you can directly put the input positional parameters. The first one is basically require the use of constant class form icon, and then the access to this constant parameters. So let's say that I want to put fight takeoff. So now if I save it, then it's going to reload this and I should get the icon right here. You can also work with the icon to make it become bigger or apply changes for the color. So for example, you can specify the name parameter color, and you can set the color to be, let's say, if you want it to be blue, then you can refer to the constant class color and then look at the blue and save it. Then you should have blue color here. And you can also have the size of the icon for 40s, and you can see that it's become bigger. So that's the icon. Now what else? Now let's start looking at the use of button. Button is basically the UIs that allow user to interact with the program. When user click on the button, then it does something. We are going to start looking at what we call materials button. So let me put this as my reference, and then we go from here. So for this material button here, what you need is the material button widget. So go ahead and put material. Before that, I think it's a good idea to clear this off. We don't need it. And then we can go over material buttons. So it's the widget. So as I told you before, it's basically creating the new objects belong to material button class, but we just leave the new alone. Now, inside this, you can specify many things. One of the things that most people look at is basically the text color. So you can specify the text color. In this case, I want it to be a white color. For example, I can look at the the child of this. The child of this. Imagine the material button is like a box. Inside the box is the child. The child can hold anything, including text. So let's say place me like this. And for the material button, then I think that should be good enough for the time being. So let me save it and look at the result. As you can see now that I have a button down here, place me. But it doesn't look any exciting at all because now it gray. Now how to fix this wall? Before we fix this, let me introduce another concept here. Now in Dust, in Dust let me open another here. Whenever you create a function, in JavaScript, C# or Java. Okay, we do it in C#. We have it like this. Say the function do1 that might take input I, j, and then return I plus j like this. And in order to return this, then you have to say what is the data type for your result. So in this case, integer plus integer is int. So we put it this way. Now, in addition to taking input as the data, we can also take the input as function. So in this case, for example, I can have function, let's say do1 again. Now, in that, you can take the function, okay, as the input. So let's call it callback. And now, what you do is you might have something like print hello 1, and then call the callback right here, and then print hello 2. Okay, and then you can go ahead and implement the function callback, and you can say print hello from others. Okay, so as you can see here that this function, okay, when you want to call these functions, you can say do1, and you can take CB as the input. Look at it carefully. Now you can take CB as the input, and what it does is it's going to call do1, and what do1 will do is, okay, this is what's gonna happen. I will take CB as the input function, and hold on. The first thing I have to do is I print hello 1, and then I make the function called CB right here before I print out message hello world. Now, when you call function CB, what happened? The system will look for CB function and print this message for you. So this is really convenient concept. Imagine that you have two different teams, and the other team might implement function CB, and you don't need to worry about what they have implemented. They might change a lot of details in here. You just have to understand that, okay, what I need to do is just to call the function from them. So this function can be implemented by other team. And then what you need to do is just call that function through the input. So you can take that function as the input and call it somewhere in your program. So you can change it easily. For example, there might be some changes that they say, hey, let's call the function CB after you finish everything. So you can call function CB here as well. So this is how you register for the function callback. Okay, you can also instead of putting implement CB separately here, you can implement what we call anonymous function. Okay, written it right here, anonymous function. It is a function implementation that does not has a name and appear, okay, appear as an input for the function call. Okay, for example, now I can go ahead and say, I know that I'm going to, whenever user system print call do1, it's going to print hello 1 and hello 2 before calling CB. Now I can make my own destiny saying do1, and now I can take this thing together as the input, copy them all, put it as the input right here, and then take the name away. See, take the name away. So this is the same as like we calling that function. Okay, so this function is implemented dynamically, and this function will be called right here. Okay, so this one that highlight will be assigned to the CB, and the CB is referent to these implementations, and it's going to be called last. So before they call print hello 1 and hello 2 first. So this is the concept of anonymous function, and this is how you register the callback function. So keep in mind that if this is new to you somehow, that we are going to come back and revisit the callback function one more time. But the reason that I introduce this to you is because for any button, we need to register for a callback function so that whenever user click on the button here, the system will take our callback function and call it whenever user click on it one more time. We actually is going to implement anonymous function like this. And then we take it to the input. We register the event click for a button. When user click this button, then the system will take our callback function and then call the function. Okay, so in this case, it's similar to this. So whenever you want to register for callback function for button, okay, so it's very simple. It's just like you specify the name parameter. So over here, you have another name parameter for assigning the events. So register for click event, we say on pressed, okay, and then over here, we put the function implementation right here. So you can go ahead and have the function implemented somewhere in your class, and then you call it right here as well. So for example, you might implement the function, say, void do1, and what the do1 will do is to print out the message hello, okay, and then you say that, okay, this one we call function do1, okay, with parentheses. Now you can see that when it's become parentheses, it say no. So without parentheses, it's working. So that means, Ajahn, so in order to assign or register for callback function for these events, first you implement the function in the class, okay, in the class, and then you just indicate the name. Now let's try this together. Okay, so over here, because I set the text of the button to be white, let me change it back to be something like red color here. Okay, and then restart it. So when I place this button, as you can see that the system print out message, hello. The reason for that is because whenever user click on this, the system will search for these events and they say, oh, this event is registered with this function. And this function is divided in the class, okay? So this is the implementation of this function. Now, if you change the message to be hello me, and then when next time when you place on this, it's gonna be hello me, okay? The function can also take an input. So you can take string as the input, let's say message, and you can put MSG right here. But now, because you're taking a message as the input, so you're gonna need to actually have input right here. So I can put, let's say, hello you right here, okay? But as you can see that it doesn't allow me to do something like this, okay? It doesn't allow me to do something like this. So we have another way of doing things. So let me first finish this by introducing the anonymous function here. So we are going to come back to hello, and then I'm going to fix this later for you. So now we are going to have just do1 right here. Just do1, and everything should look perfectly fine. I have hello. Now, instead of having do1 implemented separately over here, okay, over here, what I could do is I can actually put do1 directly right here. So instead of just put it here, I'm going to make the comment here, and after I comment it out, do1 is no longer valid, right? I can simply put this parenthesis and then put up, okay, open and close bracket. So this is the representation of what we call anonymous function. If you remember, this is anonymous function that we have in my previous example, okay? So over here, you just put parentheses and brackets, and then you can do the same thing. You can say print hello, okay, and restart, and it does working, okay? So now, okay, if I would like to take an input of the functions, is it possible? Well, we are going to investigate that after we already covered the concept of state variable, okay, state variable. But for now, we haven't covered it, so I'm going to just keep it first, okay, and then go further to finish our example together. Now, one more thing. So we have specified, this is how we register for the function. So this function get called whenever this happens. User click on this button. This is the property of this material button, text color, and the child of this button is the text. Now, if you look at this reference one more time, when the user click on it, we can have a splash color. Now let's take a look at what is the splash color. So let's specify splash color. Okay, so then I'm going to use color for make it a little bit different. So why don't we go for green one for level 500. Save it, and then look at my simulator now. If I click over here, did you notice something happens? because it's have now the splashing color, and the color of that splashing is greens. Okay, so that material design UI aspect. All right. What else? So in addition to splash color, you can also indicate the use of disable color and disable text color as well. Okay, you can try this by yourself to see what is this. Okay. Now, after you learn about material button, let's move to the next button here. We call flat button. Okay, so flat button is look like this. So for the flat button here, it's pretty much similar to material one. So what I can do is I can just copy this, but I can just copy this one. I just double click to highlight the whole line and then put comma to separate the widgets. And then over here, oops, sorry, I think, let me do it again one more time. Control C, Control V. Oh, sorry, it's just copy this word. So let me copy the whole line one more time. Okay, so now I got this one. So what I need to do is just to refactor or change the name of this widget. So instead of material buttons, we will have flat button. And one more thing is you can keep on press, okay, because each button requires registration of the click events. Now if somehow you say that, okay, I don't want to do anything, you can just leave it that way. But without this registration, look at what happened. Without these registrations, I save on it, and now you're okay. So this one also doesn't have a splash color. Let's take it off first. Okay, so this time when we go to the layout, okay, so the size is matter now. You can see that it doesn't fit all. So what I need to do is I'm gonna have to change this a little bit to make it become smaller so I can accompany more UI components. So fix this by going to container, and then for the edging here, so this is too much. Let's put 5 as well for this. So now you can see that the size becomes much smaller for the box decoration as well. So if we go to fitted box, then we can reduce the height of the fitted box as well. Okay, so let's do this for 3 of this so that we have more spaces to work with. Keep in mind that you might wonder, how can I, okay, if that's the case, that means it limits the ways that I can have many UIs in this direction. Well, if you want to have more UIs that cannot be displayed at once, then we use another widget that we call list view, and we talk about that later. Okay, so now let me change this to be 5 and change the size of this. Okay, so let's put 20 20, as well as the last container should be 5, and for box decoration now, for the size that box, this one should be 20 as well. Then I should have enough spaces to cover more control below, okay, UI below. Now, let's come back to our discussion. For the flat button, this is the second button on top, okay? The first one is material button, which is working okay. Now, because I don't register for these events, so that's why the system automatically disabled this button for me, because they thought that, okay, I would not use it anymore. Okay, now in order to make sure that this one is active, make sure that you always register for on-press events. And to always register for it, just put name parameter on press and put parentheses and then put brackets. Even though you didn't put anything right here for now, then this one should become up. And when you click on it, nothing happens because we did not put any code here until you put something like hello and restart it, then you have something working. Good. Now, what else? For flat button, unlike material button, is also have what we call highlight color. So go ahead and put highlight color. So highlight color, and I can put color for blue to make it look different than in your simulator. Now when I click on it, as you can see, that's the highlight. Unlike the splashing is like it's moved in the radial direction. See, like a water, when you throw something into the water, it's moved in that direction. But for this one, it's just the highlight. So that's the difference between material button and the flat button. Now the next one that we are going to observe is the investigate on is the raise button. Okay, raise button have almost identical structure like flat button. So what you can do is you can easily copy this flat button here and then copy it down and change the name from flat to be rested button. Now for rested button, okay, it show the error that it doesn't define for type exciting period. Okay, let me check if I have any problem with okay, listed RAISED. Yep. Okay, let me retype this by myself. RAISED. Yep. Okay. All right. I think that might be typo. All right. And here I am listed button. I am flat button so that you can see the difference. Okay. All right, and also anything else? Well, you can also specify the level of elevation. Now we are not going to use elevation yet, so let's restart it, reload it, and you should see that that's the difference between um, the flat button versus the rest button. Okay, that's the difference. And now you can specify elevation value here. Elevations, you can put like 20. See what is the elevation. You can see that there are the shadow behind this button. That's called elevation. Okay, so if I put things like 3 small value, you have shadow as well at the back of the button, so that it looks like this one jump out of the screen. Okay, so that is the elevation used. Okay, so I think that is the flat button. What about the other one, which is the icon button? For this icon button here, okay, let's move to icon button. So it pretty much having the same thing except that you don't have any text label. So in this case, I can go ahead and go from scratch. So I can put icon button widgets, okay, and it's require name parameter on press register for this and say that this I am icon button. Okay, now after you register for click events, then you can specify for the icon itself. So you can say icon name parameters and put the objects belong to the class icon. Okay, and then put icon class constant and put the name of the icon itself here. So that's gonna be icon. You can also, just like in the previous example, you can copy highlight color, and that is going to apply the highlight color to us. Let's put yellow. Okay, you can also specify the color of the icon right here. So let's put color and color dot let's for red color here. So now let's go ahead and try this in the simulator. You can see that we have another icon down here, and if I click on it, you can see that it highlights this icon in the circular manner, and also the highlight color now is belong to the yellow color. Okay, so that's the difference between this. Now for the last button that I'm going to show you here is the button that also contain the icon and the text portion. In the previous example, you have seen that for the list button, as well as flat button, as well as the material button, you just have to refer to the text as the child of this. Okay, but now for this one, then there is another name. Okay, we call rest button dot icon. It's basically a list button, but they provide a spatial constructor called icon function that allow us to put this. Okay, so let's go ahead and put listed button dot icon, and you can see that okay, the system automatically put the template for us. That's the good thing about this too. So Android Studio, when you say icon and then enter, it's automatically put this for us so that you never miss it. And now you can put parentheses, begin and the end of the function. All right, and then you can start specifying each information directly here. So for the icon, so I can go ahead and say icon, okay, and put icon dot keyboard, for example. I can also specify the color of the icon. So it's going to be, let's say, go for orange. And for the label, it's going to be the text portion of it. Now see if which one should I go for? Can I apply this directly? See if this is possible. Let's put listed button with text and icon. Okay, so as you can see, this is not possible. You always have any text here in widgets. You have to wrap it into an object creation of text widgets, and that should fix our problems. Okay, now what else that I need? I think I might misspell this again. Okay, let's see what is the error say. Oh, the reason for this is because I don't have comma in between. Okay, that's fixed my problem, and I should have simulator working fine. So you can see that now I have an icon for the keyboard icon here. I have the color of the icon. I have label as well. Now, if you want to put the text color of this to be something different, you can also say style, text style, and if you remember in the text style objects, you can also specify the color of the text. So color, then I can put things like white. Okay, save it, and it's become white, and it doesn't look nice. So let me put some value which is a little bit different, like red color one. Yes, okay. All right, so I think for this introduction, now you learn how to put things together into the widget tree. If you look at and visit widget tree one more time, now for the widget trees, it's going to show over here that we have many things. So let me minimize, okay? Let me minimize, and that we can go over this together one by one. So at the top here, at the top of our widget is basically the representation for an empty frame that is called material app. The reason we call material app is because it is the box that allows us to work with material design theme, okay? Now inside this box, we have exciting page that we implemented as a class that extends from this, so that whenever we have applied changes, now you can use hot reload, okay? All right, inside this one, you have a scaffold, the scaffold that contains two parts, the app bar and the body part, okay? Now inside the scaffold here, the app bar is this position, and the column. The column is basically the widget that is used to hold multiple child or hold students, basically. So in here, in the columns, we start with two text field, okay, two text field, and then we have three subsequent container like this with the different style, okay. Then we have an icon below, okay, and also because now it's oversized of this, so that why you never see more of the okay, let me look at this. As you can see now that it's supposed to also show button below, but because now it is placed inside somewhere inside, let me look at this. Okay, it doesn't seem right. We're supposed to have the text as well. Okay, so we have text field, good. Text field, container, icon. Okay, icon. Okay, and then material button. But seem like because this one, let me refresh this one more time, see if, yeah. Okay, so now it's coming up. So as you can see now that after the refresh, then it shows also that we have container, okay, different container, two text field, one icon, material button. Inside material button, then it have a child for showing the text, okay. Flat button here, it show the text as well. We have icon button here. The child of this is basically an icon, and for this one there are two things, the icon and the text. All right, so hopefully this set of video tutorial, starting from the beginnings, that show you how to work with Android Studio would allow you to start working with software development for to target Flutter frameworks. And as you can see now that the code is also can be used for Android and iOS. Right now I am using the iOS simulators. Okay. All right, hopefully in the future, in the next video series, now we are going to learn more about how do we design the custom layout for specific application, and then we go from there. Thank you for watching.